necessarily.
Okay.
We are getting set up. We're about to go live. Trying to see. Oh, we are live. Tri312 Multisport Mondays. Here we are, back again, all together as one. Reporting live from the beautiful Lakeshore Sport and Fitness in downtown Chicago. We're here giving all the lovely updates on June 17th. An exciting and busy week in Chicago.
Yes.
A lot of big news coming out in the next week or two.
A little less than a week, yeah.
Less than a week.
A lot of different and big news. I would just leave it at that, I guess.
Yes.
So we have right off the top, let's just jump right into the exciting stuff, because there may or may not be a new race coming to the Midwest somewhere.
So yes, so obviously we are very in with our friends at IRONMAN. So without spoiling the lead here, at least one, if not more of us, will be on location on Monday, June 24th. We're not going to disclose where, but a new race will be being announced by IRONMAN this coming Monday, or a week from today, June 24th. So mark it on your calendar. Look for more updates or any other information from us as we move forward. But we're going to be really excited to be there, present, to help support that launch of a new race. But the question is that a 70.3? Or is it full? And where? Where do you think we're going to be? And what distance race do you think it will be? So please, if you're engaged with us here on the YouTubes or listening to the podcast this week, please let us know or reach out, comment, question. Where is that location going to be and what distance? We're excited about it. We just got the news over the weekend. So again, stay tuned. We're not spoiling anything.
Save your coins.
Save your coins, but we're really excited, and be on the lookout and mark your calendar for the announcement, whether it's through IRONMAN or watch us, listen to us live throughout the day on Monday, June 24th, that we will be able to announce something fun and brand new for a new race in 2025.
And I don't even think you guys know, but I actually drove past the course yesterday.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting.
Where was I? I don't know.
He's all over the place. It could be anywhere. But I think we can say that for anybody that is within earshot of us, that typically listen to us here in the Chicagoland area, i.e. or the Midwest, you might be very interested to find out where that location will be. But even before that, we have even more fun stuff that's happening this week with our friends with SUPERTRI. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Chris, take it away.
Yeah, so we've got a busy week coming up. SUPERTRI is making a big announcement. The announcement technically has already come out, but this will be our local announcement in Chicago, that there is now a SUPERTRI event coming to Chicago. So in addition to the Chicago Triathlon itself, which was now owned by SUPERTRI, SUPERTRI is going to have a elite, a professional race happening Sunday afternoon after the Chicago Tri, right near Buckingham Fountain. Different course, and it's in the perfect spot basically for anyone racing the Chicago Tri to come out and watch. It's in their new exciting SUPERTRI format. They just announced, actually about a week or two ago, or in the last couple of weeks, they've been announcing all the new teams, because they're now making this a team-based program. SUPERTRI has kind of been a team-based program that is now franchise. Yep. So all these new teams are being announced. They just announced the Stars and Stripes team, and that's the second team they've announced so far. And they'll be competing. A lot of the athletes that will be competing will actually be coming straight from the Olympics, from Paris. Doing a whole series of these SUPERTRI events, and Chicago is really going to be the big one. We've got what is essentially the world's largest triathlon in Chicago Triathlon, followed by a very exciting race. So we're making a little kickoff event this week in downtown Chicago to announce that. They're also doing a lot of info sessions around the new corporate challenge program where you can fundraise and get a lot of perks. You can get the free swim clinics, all the open water swim clinics for free. You can get a private team rack area in transition.
That's cool.
When you do the corporate challenge program. So if you work for any company that wants to sign up, I don't think right now we don't have a limit actually in terms of how many athletes you need to have. Anyone who's got a company or is working at a company, which is almost anybody, could probably sign up for the program. So if you're curious, check the website or contact us. And yeah, exciting. So a lot of big news. Literally, the world's largest triathlon and one of the world's largest triathlon brands, both making big announcements in the Chicago area this week. So
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
I think all three of us will be at one or multiple of these events throughout the week. So I'm excited. I'm kind of excited to meet all the representatives from the companies, meet a lot of other triathlon coaches or triathlon adjacent companies and businesses and professionals that will be at this special event on Thursday. Tim Don, I think, is also going to be there. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, there's a lot of I am enjoying that there's a lot of enthusiasm and energy and excitement going around with this, and really trying to make this Chicago Tri this year like really be even bigger than it probably has in the past. Not to suggest that Chicago Tri hasn't been enormous before years. I love the energy. I love the newness, and brings another level of excitement to the sport.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Chicago Tri was the world's largest triathlon for several years, the Guinness Book of World Records. I remember seeing the representative from the Guinness Book of World Records. He had to sit in a chair at the finish line with a manual counter
And clip everybody
that came across the finish line to confirm that the electronic timing and everything was accurate to make sure they had the right count. So I think with all the news happening in the Chicago area this week, it's really exciting. It's kind of like Chicago is becoming a global, headquarters, a global center of triathlon in the whole country, if not the world. So,
and what a better reason to get all of our community together in this respect, so that we can all celebrate this together.
Yeah. So fun stuff.
It should be really fun.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's heating up in Chicago is the Metro City.
Great segue.
I know. So we wanted to have a couple coach tips this week. One of which is about the weather. We're getting our first major heat wave, 90 degrees plus pretty much all week long. That makes training very, very tough. So how do we deal with the heat is a big question. So that's one coach corner tip that we want to cover real quick. The other one is that we had on our schedule. So if you're building up towards the Chicago Triathlon, we have a different weekly theme, and this weekly theme is about stretching. And so in the heat is actually a good time to stretch, get your muscles warmed up. But Brian, do you have any tips on stretching?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a little video here so if you want to do more of a deep dive, or at least about a 3 minutes worth of a deep dive, we do have some videos, or a video here on our Tri312 channel, where I actually go into specifically dynamic stretching. And we also talk about, when are good times to stretch? When are good times to stretch, you guys think?
Always. You always get the question about when to do static stretching and when to do dynamic stretching.
When to do stretching? Well, just in order to reiterate and reinforce the need for stretching, the late great Kobe Bryant was interviewed once, and they had asked him, out of all the things that from your entire career, from being a professional athlete, what is one thing that you regret? And it was something to the effect, and this is not verbatim, but there's something to the effect of, like, I wish I had stretched more, right? Or I did more stretching. So if you think you're doing enough, or you're not doing enough, good time to start this now, because the more you stretch, and you stretch correctly and add those things into your routine as active recovery, doing it before you train, doing it after your training, any amounts, at least doing it 3 to 5 times a week at a minimum is going to be beneficial to you as an athlete, especially for those of us doing a sport that we are doing lots of bipedal movements, a lot of repetition movements for a long period of time. Stretching basically is just going to help you absorb those forces so much better, right? You're going to be able to absorb the forces. You're going to be able to be more pliable. Think of it as in terms of like the more we put stress on our muscles, think of stretching as being the difference of like us landing on a piece of plywood or trampoline. Right. So our ability to be able to absorb those forces is crucial. And stretching is going to be one of those things that are going to be extremely beneficial to you as an athlete. And in my experience, and this is what we go through here on our video, is when to do a certain type of stretching. So my recommendation is always to do more dynamic stretching before you work out. Most of us, before we do work out, we're usually coming into it pretty cold, like first thing in the morning, and we're a little bit tired. We're probably a little bit tight and stiff from sleeping overnight, workouts from the previous day or days. So what we do with dynamic stretching, right, is doing a controlled movement, but we're not holding it for any long duration of time, right? So it's a controlled, continuous movement. But what we're really doing, guys, is we're essentially telling our muscles, hey, we're getting ready to do work. We're trying to get them queued up into getting ready to do work, right? To do movement, right? So, if you are going to hold it any length of time, it's usually like, maybe 2 to 5 seconds. So you're not holding it very long. Static stretching is usually anything that is of a duration of more than, say, 20 to 30 seconds, usually 20 to 60 seconds is what static stretching is for most of the duration of time that you need to be doing it, but also very beneficial, but typically done more at the end of a workout, right? So once your muscles have been warmed up, have been used, right, they're a little bit more, there's a little bit more blood flow going to them. And what we want to do is be able to elongate, stretch a warm muscle. Studies have shown that trying to stretch or elongate a tight or cold muscle isn't as beneficial. So we want to do it once the muscles are nice and warmed up. So even if, let's say that you're doing some active recovery and you're not worked out, then maybe taking a hot shower, going in the sauna, getting those muscles nice and warm, and then doing static stretching could also be beneficial, right? So that would be my recommendation. If you're thinking stretching, do dynamic prior to your warm-up, prior to your workout as part of your warm-up, maybe a little foam rolling entered in there somewhere. And that should only be, 5 to 10 minutes, right? Do your workouts, and then at the end, maybe some more foam rolling, and then about 5 to 15 minutes of good quality static stretching once your muscles are warm, getting good lengthening of those muscles, and it will do you some real good. Any other comments or additions to that?
Yeah, I think the big ones for me are, especially on running and swimming in particular, I like to let people think about stretching not as just something that you should do or need to do, but something that can actually improve your performance, like having your hip flexors, limber enough so that you can have a longer stride length.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get faster? You either have to increase your cadence with swimming and running, especially increase your cadence or increase your stride length or stroke length. And you can't really do that unless you really do stretch and get bigger range of motion. And you can literally, both with running strides, you can get like literally 6 inches of extra stride length, or you could get with the swimming, your stroke being able to reach further will give you an extra 6 inches, maybe even 12 inches per stroke.
Mm-hmm.
So you can literally get faster just by stretching.
Yeah.
Think of it as just part of your everyday routine, especially on your off days or your rest days from working out. You might be sitting at a desk all day long. I like to tell my athletes and clients to set a timer. Roughly every hour, hour and a half, get up, start moving around. Not necessarily dynamic stretches, sometimes some static stretches to get the body moving. Get used to incorporating that not only in your workouts, but outside of your workouts. It's going to make everything a lot better. But also, we're also thinking about injury prevention, which is the biggest thing. See a lot of folks who do not have a regular stretching routine, pre-workout and post-workout are more prone to injury. So if you don't like to be injured, start thinking of your stretching routine is part of your workout. It's part of your everyday routine.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally rather see most of my athletes cut their workouts 5 to 10 minutes shorter and spend the extra 5 to 10 minutes stretching and doing those good habits, especially when it's hot out.
Yes.
Right. Our other coach tip this week is figuring out how to deal with the heat.
Yes,
And
100%.
one of those tips, at least that I like to encourage, is cut the workouts shorter. You know, if it's hot out, you don't need to be out there quite as long. Your core body temperature will go too high if you're out there for too long. But if you're warmed up, it's a great time to stretch. So that when it's hot out, maybe do less of that higher intensity, volume, and spend more time doing the things you might not have, like strengthening and stretching.
Yeah, 100%.
Any other tips that you guys have for dealing with the heat in particular? So this week, what are we telling our athletes to do to deal with the 90+ degree heat index all week?
So try not to do your workout in the height of the day, between that 3 p.m. when the sun is at its highest. Try to wake up, do it earlier in the morning where it might be cool. But unfortunately, it was very humid this morning, or in the evening if you can do an evening workout. But definitely don't try to do a high intensity workout. It might be 95 degrees. Why are you doing a full all out workout? But also be mindful of maybe you might want to bring down that intensity, bring down that heart rate, because your heart rate is going to automatically go up, especially when it's very hot. Maybe do some walking breaks. If you're a runner, there's nothing wrong with walking. Just saying.
I would just champion basically everything that Joy just said. What you said, Chris, is to, I mean, if you've got on your schedule any kind of fartlek interval workouts, like where you're going maybe past your threshold, trying to do speed work, maybe bring that inside. And do it on a treadmill. If you have access to an indoor track where it's in a little bit more of a controlled environment, go ahead and do that. Let that be something that you do indoors. I've got a lot of runners that I work with that just absolutely despise running indoors or despise running on a treadmill. Your health is more important. And if you're trying to do that work and especially if you're not able to get into either earlier in the day or later in the evening, and you're trying to fit that in on your schedule, and it happens to be like in the middle of the day when it's like like 93 degrees out and 85% humidity or more, that is going to make your heart rate skyrocket even more. Be safe and be smart about it. And again, just when we have these days, it's still good to maybe just get out and just do a little bit, maybe just even 20 minutes of exposure into the heat, and that's it. And then again, do more recovery, stretch and things like that. Your body will need time to adapt to that heat, especially when we don't get it that much here in the Midwest.
Yeah. And there's other tools that can be used. Of course, extra hydration. Mm-hmm. Really think about, it's like driving a car with gas. Are you going to always drive your car on E? Or do you want that full tank? So think about your hydration, but they also make cooling towels that you can in some cold water, put around your neck to try to bring your body temperature down.
Yeah, yesterday I was up riding the IRONMAN Wisconsin course, and I wore full arm sleeves, the cooling sleeves.
Yeah.
I pour water on there and let the wind cool me down. There's also some gadgets like the Omnius headwear, both full caps and headbands. If you've been watching the professional Ironman racers and ITU, you'll see these athletes wearing these, what are essentially heat sinks, what you put on like a processor and a computer to cool it down. Just having airflow over that, it increases the surface area. And that's something that you can think about doing, whether you're wearing something like this or not, is just any way that you can either increase the surface area or increase airflow over your skin.
Yeah.
That will cool you down. Like we were riding, it was 90 degrees up in Wisconsin area. And when we stopped cycling, our core body temperature would actually go up because we don't have that active cooling happening anymore.
Yeah.
So hydrating, you have to almost double your hydration and pour water all over yourself anywhere you can.
Yeah.
And also plan where to get hydration. And on the Wisconsin course, we have 3 different quick trip gas stations we stop at and buy gallon water jugs to refill all our bottles because we have to literally drink 2 to 3 times as much as we would otherwise.
Yeah.
Another thing to also think of besides what you're putting in your body with hydration, what's on your body? Sunscreen.
Oh, yes.
As I like to say, if the black chick tells you to wear sunscreen, you really need to wear sunscreen. And also thinking about sunglasses covering your face, a visor, a hat. There are some hats that actually has looks like a curtain right behind it to help get all the sun off of your neck. Like Coach Chris said, cooling sleeves. There are so many things out there. So think of that, especially right now we're in, I think it's like 95 degrees right now with the real feel of 102, 103 degrees. Be smart about it.
Yeah, I like to think for every 10 degrees above, especially like 70 degrees, you should bring your training intensity down 1 full heart rate zone to try to keep the core body temperature from getting too high. And then also cut the volume down. So like when we go over 100 degrees, definitely with a heat index, we generally will not work out, or we will just take the intensity down. And at that point, it's almost 2 to 3 heart rate zones, which means walking instead of running.
Right.
Like just do the heat acclimation and cut the time in half.
I mean, anything above 75 degrees heat and 75% or 70% humidity, right, your heart rate is going to go up anywhere from like 5 to 15 beats. So like whatever your zone 2 is. So let's say my aerobic threshold is 140, right? By doing the same effort out there in that same temperature, it's going to skyrocket to close to like 155. So have that sort of awareness. So if you haven't already done like heart rate training and be able to do easier runs, zone 2 runs, and you all think you have one speed, bring it back down, right? And if you're not comfortable doing that yet, bring it inside until you're ready. And then you can still do heat acclimatization indoors, right? So let's say if you're in a controlled 70-degree environment, add layers, right? So start slow, maybe start indoors. If you start realizing or that your any races that you will be doing might have this sort of dynamic, but start indoors, get some controlled environment type of training, add some layers. So start getting that heart rate up a little bit more, sweating a little bit more, understanding how your body reacts. And then if you do go out in this more of a hotter environment, more humid environment, like we have in Chicago this week, you might be a little bit easier to negotiate it, but you've had some experience. So.
Yeah, and the main thing to think about is anytime the heat index especially goes over your core body temperature, like 98.6, if you can't cool your body down, you're just going to exponentially overheat.
Yeah.
And so you have to think about, what should I really be training? For one, indoors might be better. And then think about little hacks and tips and tricks that you can do.
Yeah.
In Chicago too, I also encourage people to run along the lakefront, run closer to the water.
Yeah.
And even after the run, especially, or maybe even the middle of the run, jump in the lake, like get in the water to cool yourself down.
Yeah.
And that helps tremendously.
I heard a tip of drinking something like a slushie before you go out on the run because it helps to cool that core temperature. So it helps you sort of at least ease into that harder run just a little bit more.
Yeah. And also pouring water on your wrists.
Yeah.
Cold water on your wrists will help definitely.
Yeah, where your veins are closer to your skin. Yeah. It's a great place to cool yourself down.
For women, what sports bras are made for. You can put ice down your sports bra.
If you haven't already listened, there is a great Multisport Monday where Joy talks all about the right type of sports bra. So if you haven't listened to it, go back in. It's on the channel. It's on the podcast as well. So nice little pitch there.
Yes.
And there's also some Tri apparel that have ice pockets built in, like on the back of the spine. The Zoot kits have the little pocket where you can pour ice down, and kind of like how the pro cyclists put ice socks down their backs to cool themselves down, or if you have the arm cooling sleeves, I always pour ice down the arm cooling sleeves.
Yeah.
And keep the ice on my skin.
And if you have a hat, you can just pour ice in the hat and put it on top. Or if you have a visor, I'm a visor girl, so I'm pouring water down the visor.
Yeah, or just take your hat off at a water fountain and
Pour it in.
pour water on it and slap it back on.
Every aid station,
Yep.
basically. Yeah. So cool. I think there's a lot to go on
Yeah.
there.
A lot of good tips. All right.
Oh, but hey, if you are listening and you go back through and listen to this episode, if you have your own tips and tricks, please let us know in the comments below, and we can hopefully share those at a future episode.
Awesome. All right, now let's jump to news and weekend recaps and upcoming weekend news. So I'd say that one of the major events that happened this past weekend in terms of races or events in Chicago was the first open water swim clinic from the Chicago Triathlon. Was on Saturday morning. So these only happen a couple times during the summer. If you can't make the Tuesday night clinics, the Saturday clinics are similar but different. It's a rolling clinic every 30 minutes. We had coaches breaking out different groups, working on individual skills in a more one-on-one kind of format or small group format. So you get a little more input that way, individualized, but you still get to practice that open mass swim start environment. And we have one more of those coming up next month, and these run from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So great opportunity in addition to the Tuesdays, which we have another Tuesday clinic coming up actually.
This Tuesday, actually, June 25th.
Yeah, not tomorrow, but
next
following Tuesday. Yep. So yeah, take advantage of those. And they've been selling out. Saturday sold out, the last swim clinic sold out. So sign up for these early if you're thinking about doing them, because there's no better way to get used to open water swimming than actually getting out there.
100%.
And then what do we have coming up? So
Pleasant Prairie,
yeah, probably the second biggest or one of the top 3 biggest triathlons, I think, in the greater Chicagoland area. It's technically across the border in Wisconsin. This year, it's actually the Wisconsin State Championship, which means for both age group, clubs, and for high school students, it's a championship event. So a higher percentage of finishers, you can get a state champion title and a higher percentage qualify for USAT Nationals. So if you want to qualify for the national championship, this is the event to do. It's also the Para Triathlon National Championship. So Dare to Try is up there doing a little camp. It's a very para athlete friendly race, an adaptive athlete friendly race. And it's I've done it several times. There's relays as well, which make it a lot of fun. So it is a very beginner friendly event. I think the Chicago Tri Club actually denotes it as their target race for beginners.
Sure.
So it's a pretty popular event.
I know my former team with the CAC Tri Club. I know they'll have a crew out there strong. I think we may have somebody out there to showcase a little bit of the goings on of the Pleasant Prairie Tribe.
Yeah, if I can, I'll try to head up there this weekend. So maybe you'll see Tri312 up there. Definitely some of our athletes are racing it. There's a duathlon. It's actually one of probably the most competitive duathlons, I would say, in the Midwest, or at least the Chicagoland area. So we have a lot of people doing the duathlon. So if you're not a swimmer, it's a good option to get into the sport as well.
Excellent. Cool. I look forward to seeing the broadcast results.
They do. If you want to get a visual for what the race environment is like, what the swim start is like, they do have some YouTube videos, like highlight recap videos from prior years.
Great soundtrack.
So it's a great way to see what the race looks like. What the venue is like. Up by the Recplex Center. So it's literally right across the border. It's like the first exit or so after you cross into Wisconsin, just past Six Flags, if you know where that is. So it's a nice, I think only like an hour and a half drive. North of Chicago. So definitely a worthwhile race to do if you've never done it before. Cool. So speaking of state championships, this is kind of a continued part of the series of both national and state championships by USA Triathlon. The Chicago Tri is the Illinois States Championship as well. So if you don't get a chance to see Pleasant Prairie, the Chicago Tri is going to be a great opportunity. if you do want to qualify for nationals. Or
We also have an
for
Indiana state
championship.
championship
Indiana
coming up next month.
Yeah.
And Kentucky.
Yep,
And
we got
Kentucky.
several of them here, so I think we got our list. Yep, Grand Rapids try as well. We just had that. So St. Louis was the from Missouri, Grand Rapids from Michigan, Wisconsin is Pleasant Prairie, Indiana is LaPorte in July, then try Louisville in Kentucky.
Man, we're
and
just
then
fast
Chicago
forwarding
Tri.
through all of these, aren't we?
Yeah,
We're already here.
speeding all the way through them pretty quick. So take advantage of those. Those are definitely highlight races. You'll get good competitive fields, but also just more athletes at these events.
Yeah.
So.
And I know last time that we all were together, the pitch was that we were also going to have an interview with the Northwest Indiana Triathletes president, and we had to reschedule. So we will be speaking with her later this evening. So look out for that interview, hopefully by the end of this week. And then that way, because they are the club host for the Indiana State Championship in LaPorte. So we'll get to know more about that.
Cool.
All right.
Yes. All right. What else do we have going on? I
think there was something in Indianapolis.
Well, that's going on. So basically, what's
Still going.
still going on is the Olympic trials for swimming this week.
We already have a world record broken.
Yep.
We have another 4-time Olympian.
Yes.
Going to her 4th Olympics in Paris, who is probably the GOAT, and Katie Ledecky. But yeah, Gretchen Walsh in the prelims set a world record and was only off by like a 0.13 seconds in the finals to punch her official ticket to Paris. We also had a gentleman, a local boy there in Indiana named Costin Foster that won the men's 400 IM. We have, and then we also had 30-year-old Nick Fink, who got the men's 100-meter breaststroke. We've already had amazing events already. We had a swim off get into the finals for the men's 200 free. I mean, it's been a pretty exciting weekend so far. I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton of other stuff, but just the presentation, the pomp and circumstance, the just.
I mean, it's quite literally, I think, the biggest swimming venue.
Yes.
Over 20,000. Yeah,
They built a Olympic swimming pool in a football stadium.
Yeah,
It's actually kind of cool.
So, and a lot of people actually say the U.S. swimming trials to get onto the Olympic team in a lot of ways is more competitive than the actual Olympics themselves.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because
I would not doubt that.
Only the first person, first place
And
gets a spot on the team, and then second place
is likely
to get on. It's not even guaranteed at that.
But I mean, if you're still interested, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch things over the weekend, like if you're like me doing Chicago Festing, or watch Inside Out 2. So it is still going on. We have more finals tonight.
So tonight is the
8 to 10 p.m. is the women's 400 IM, the men's 200 free, women's 100 back, men's 100 backstroke, women's 100 breast, and women's 200 free.
Basically every day.
So much stuff. So many between now until the 23rd.
But then overlapping with the U.S. swimming trials is USA Track and Field Olympic trials, which starts this Friday in Oregon.
I'm excited because I have a lot of Texas Tech Red Raiders that are in the Olympic trials right now, like a lot of national champions coming from our great state of Texas. At least that neck of the woods. So I'm excited for some Red Raiders to be hopefully announced on the Olympic team again this year.
Yeah. And if you miss, watching these events live, I found a great way to kind of catch up and see a lot of the action is to just go on the NBC YouTube channel.
Yeah.
NBC Olympics. You can watch all the highlight videos.
They got great little clips on Instagram, so follow them along.
TikTok.
All right, some news, bike news. Not a lot of major events, but we do have a big one coming up at the end of next month. The Fulton Market Grand Prix, part of the Chicago Grit Series. That's something to pencil in. But this time of year is actually one of the, I'd say, most popular times a year to find cycling mass participation events, so like century rides. So there's several coming up over the next couple of weeks. The Swedish Days ride, the Beansy ride, the July 4th ride. These are all just local kind of supported aid station, ride at your own pace type of events that are great training events. So anyone doing training for longer distance triathlons, especially, you always see a big group of triathletes participating at these events that are just within, a short drive from Chicago.
Yeah.
So if anyone's looking for that information, rideillinois.org is a great website for that. Or if locally you're just looking to find group rides, I think a group from Half Acre Cycling put a neat website together called chicagogrouprides.com. So when I get a lot of people asking like, oh, what are the good local group rides to go on? That's a place where you can find every day of the week. They list a lot of the different ride events that you can join in on. So
cool.
Definitely check that out for sure. All right. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, here's a little clip of our Chicago crit race. So swim, bike, and now running news. And I know you mentioned track and field already. Any other running events
So we got
that
ahead
you
of
guys
ourselves
have? We kind of jumped ahead on that one a little bit. But yeah, we don't have a lot.
We just long jumps.
Yeah.
Okay.
We triple jumped it.
Oh, that was better.
Yes.
But yeah, since the big Chicago 13.1 half marathon, this week has really been kind of the beginning of marathon training.
That's right. All Kara workouts began, I believe, last week.
We just kicked off and had I think probably our biggest participation for our Team Danae's group on our first Saturday run. So it's really fun to kind of see all those runners that you might not have seen in a while getting back out on the lakefront trail. Yes, it's a little more crowded,
especially early in the morning, like today, when it's 94 degrees.
Getting used to the early morning wake up calls takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth it to beat the heat to get out early for sure. So definitely, if you're looking for groups to run with, this is the time of year everybody starts running again. So a great way to supplement your triathlon training with some running specific training. And then a lot of local 5K events are taking place too. We don't have a lot of big long distance events, I feel like, in Chicago during the heat of summer.
Yeah, not for a while. Yeah.
We tend to wait until the fall, get the Chicago Half Marathon and the Chicago Marathon, September, October. So for now, it's kind of short distance racing season at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much it for all of our updates.
I think so. Yeah. A lot of good information, good quality tips for all of our athletes out there. Some great news of upcoming stuff to get excited about on all levels of triathlon, whether you're brand new all the way to maybe looking for your next Ironman race. So yeah, I'm excited. Are you guys excited?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be doing, these cameo appearances at local races and events. And as we do these throughout the summer, we might also arrange for different kind of social events or meetups with anyone who's interested, whether it's making a cameo at an Ironman announcement coming up in the next week, or a fun run or a lake swim. So if anyone does want to join us for anything, what we're going to start doing a little bit more of is posting events. We just did a group ride up in Wisconsin, actually, just yesterday up on the Ironman course. So a lot of these unofficial just meetups and impromptu things that we'll create. We'll post the information on our Tri312 Strava group. So if anyone's using Strava, look for the Tri312 Chicago Clubs and Communities group, and feel free to join that and follow along with all the fun stuff going on this summer.
Sweet.
We also have a Tri312 store if anyone wants to get any Tri312 apparel. So definitely be sure to check that out. We'll have the details in the description on our YouTubes. And if you guys have any questions or have any thoughts, ideas, guest speakers, topics, things that you want to see us cover, be sure to follow us, comment on the YouTube channel, engage us on Instagram, Facebook, or just shoot us an email. You can shoot an email to coach@tri312.com, and that'll come to us. And we love incorporating bringing either new guests in or coming up with new topics to answer questions for you guys. So that's pretty much it.
That sounds great. Yeah.
All right. Tri312, that's a wrap for this week. Stay tuned. We might be doing several kind of impromptu live or maybe recorded. We don't know yet, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, stay
A little bit of
tuned to
Yeah.
all these big announcements, big events taking place this week. Maybe we'll get some celebrity triathlon,
Oh,
special guests making cameos.
Just tell us what the clickbait y'all need is, and we're gonna try to do it.